who would be interred there in Milton Kaiser, sometimes they can't even pay for the funeral. So it
would have to be made.
Right.
But that hasn't been given any thoughtful consideration by this council to this date.
That would be part of the myriad discussions before such a merge would take place.
Right.
How would we handle these items so that all the parties are satisfied? But there's pros and
Yes.
cons for both.
Right.
So if we don't have an answer.
And perhaps our board can meet in a private meeting with those of you
Sure.
who would be concerned about that, or
Right.
would have something to say
I
about
don't think
that.
we can have a private
Not
You-
with all
you-
of us.
private
You
meeting.
you can have a
with
meeting
each
with.
of us, but
with-
not together.
With one member of
Right.
council and
Right.
staff in private.
To discuss, how we would be operating if we were under the
Right.
city,
Well, I think that's where we want to go. We want to, I think Randy and I think Ms. Rice has also stated the last meeting about finding some avenues that might work, and that we need to look at all of those avenues and definitely present them to your board and see if that's something that can be done. And that's where I'm sure everybody on this council hopes. And Shannon, do you have anything to add to that?
I just wanted to ask Ms. Glover, have you completed and obtained your nonprofit at this point, or are you still working on it?
Yes, we have.
You did?
We've
Okay.
incorporated, and yes, we have. Yes, so.
Okay, great. Okay.
But but there are a lot of issues though that really would need to be discussed if
Right.
we were to merge.
Right.
That's true. I appreciate your attitude in presenting your information to us, because, we all do want to work together. The Milton Board and the Kaiser Board. There are some things that we need to work through, even before we get to this point. Some things that even go back to 1889, in terms of the name of the organization.
Yes.
That should last forever. That is written and so recorded and in the legal channels. We have a lot to do. Actually, too, we need to probably work with you, not us, because you're a private entity at this point. We realize that. But we can work together and come to some decision in terms of having some kind of city having a vested interest. As I said, back to the beginning, when they first organized, everything was set in stone. With the meeting that set up the bylaws, all of these things that I'm sure that you're aware of. And as a part of that meeting, the name of that organization should even be today, the Benevolent Colored Cemetery Association of Milton.
Yes.
That is the official name.
Yes.
And as we have been looking, there have been some things that came about that's not in that name. And I'm not so sure if that's legal or not. So we got a long ways to go. Even with the corporation paperwork and maybe even backtracking, did you say that you had paperwork already established in Tallahassee?
501(c)(3).
No, not-
13 actually for cemeteries.
And Tallahassee?
The 501(c)(13.
Okay.
This is Milton Kaiser, but that is
So we
another
got a
discussion
long
for our
ways to go.
board. Because I
Even with
refer to the same minutes
corporation
you're probably looking at from
paperwork, yeah, and maybe even
1888,
back
when it was
tracking,
established,
did you say
Right.
that you had,
as the name that you did
paperwork
say.
already
And we've
established
only
in Tallahassee?
used the name Milton
No,
Kaiser
not-
for distinction, currently,
In
but
Tallahassee?
definitely after really scrutinizing these bylaws and
Okay.
what have you in
I
those
went
minutes.
to pull that up
We
and I couldn't
we are
find it.
thinking of, we aren't
So
thinking,
maybe
we
I
are
was-
going back to the Benevolent
Yes.
Colored Cemetery Association of Milton.
Yeah.
Mayor,
And we would have to change our paperwork
Yes.
a lot of things will have to be changed.
That'll be fine, yeah. I
Mayor,
understand,
Mayor,
yes.
if I could offer to
Okay.
establish a meeting with representatives of the Kaiser Cemetery Board, and if the council would defer to you for your involvement in those conversations, that would be a path forward.
As the name that you did say, and we've only done.
We need a motion on that?
Use the name Milton really.
Either that or just a consensus of council.
Motion?
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilman Snow, seconded by Councilwoman Smith, that we do need to have a collaboration for someone here to represent us, sit down and work with you. All in favor of that motion, let it be known by voting. Motion carries. Okay, we will be in touch with you, Ms. Glover, to look at some time that we can arrange that. And once again, thank you for your willingness to come forward to want to work, with us, with the Milton Cemetery, because we want to be one big happy family here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're talking about a meeting that we have set for, we're calling it like a town hall meeting, but it was really directed at the people who have loved ones interred at the Milton Kaiser. And I think we need to hash out some things though locally, just with that group, and then it'll be a good time then to really come back, because we're going to get information from them, and they're allowed to ask us questions, because they've had a lot of questions for us too. So we just need to hash that out among ourselves. Really.
Okay, today's Blackwater Report is coming to you from the Gill Bass Park,
Understood.
right next to the center of the
Thank you,
county
Ms. Glover,
board
for all you
education
do.
Thank you
building.
so much.
Thank you.
Let's get started.
We'll recognize you.
Whoa, whoa. Before we even get to approve the minutes, let's hear from Councilwoman Holly.
Historic Cemetery.
Before we go to the approval of the agenda for additional
present
items,
this,
I'd like to
I
recognize
kinda hate
at her
for y'all to
request.
have to circle back around later and us go over it. But I just wanted to remind the council what we talked about at the last meeting about the sale of the property, that on January 10th of 2017, and again on March 14th of 2017, the council voted unanimously both times that the two parcels of property that were originally part of the cemetery, one is on Shaver Street and one is on Berry Hill, that both those parcels would be sold and the proceeds, go towards our building fund. So I just, instead of y'all having to take up a lot of time, it's already been done.
I
Did
have
the
a
other
comment
piece get
about that.
sold?
I have a comment about that. So, I wasn't a part of the board then, and I'm concerned about the arrangements that were made. In my mind, this was a very bad business deal. If the city agreed to take over management and the administrative cost of this cemetery, and then any sales, or I don't know if the plot sales are also going into the Milton Cemetery Board coffers, that just seems like a really bad business deal. I think they should be if they have the funds available, that they should be funding some of those administrative fees, because as it is right now, we've got taxpayer dollars funding this and paying for the administrative cost of the cemetery, and then we have no taxpayer representatives input to how the money is spent.
Pam, can I ask you a question?
Certainly.
Those two pieces of property, that was originally a part of the whole thing, and then the roads were put in, and it was
Absolutely.
just kind of the way it was designed, were left over, correct?
The first burials in our cemetery, and y'all don't, I always get my numbers transposed. It was 1835 or either 1853. Anyway, the mid-1800s was the first burial in Milton Cemetery. And at that time, the roads were like little pig trails,
Right.
Berry Hill and Shavers and all. They weren't the wide paved roads. So what happened is when those roads were paved, it separated these two parcels from the larger parcel.
Well, and I've been a part of those other votes on that, and I understand that. I don't have an issue with that money being used for some of the future projects that are there. And as far as Kaiser Cemetery, you know, I've talked to you, I've talked to Ms. Glover.
Yes.
I've tried to work with you all about coming together, with both boards coming together with a similar look eventually. So when the improvements with fencing and different things, and I think that's going to happen. I feel good about that. And I feel good that in the future, with that money going in to do the pavilion that's going to be there, can also be used by the other side. I wouldn't think.
Absolutely.
I don't think that would ever be an issue. So I think the funding, we're going to get creative if we have to for Kaiser, and they're not going to be left out. Whether we have to go to the public as just citizens and work together to get there, because I'm a big proponent for both of them. And I want them both to look right. There's so much history in both of them.
Absolutely.
It's special to me. And I've been here 30 years, but I have no family members there, but I'm part of it. I feel like I know so much of that cemetery, and that's a credit to you and a lot of the great events that you put on. So Kaiser's is step by step right with it, because I don't want one lagging behind the other by any means.
Absolutely.
And I don't think anyone does.
And we look
Councilman Snow, I hear what you're saying, but I just want to really focus in on what we're doing with our taxpayer dollars. That we are spending the amount of $20,000 a year to support Milton Cemetery, and then giving any sales or anything to the Milton Cemetery Board, and we have no taxpayer representative involved with the spend of that money. And I do not think that is how we spend our taxpayer dollars.
May I speak to that,
Yeah,
please?
please do.
I think you have a board that are all taxpayers. and
They are not
that's-
elected officials.
No, they are not elected officials. They are a volunteer board, and they serve at the pleasure of the council. Those people work really hard, and I have a little disagreement about, I know we talked about this last week, about the administrative cost. Christy Harmon is doing a phenomenal job. She helps us so much. Christy Harmon's going to be your employee, and she might just be out there twiddling her thumbs part of the time if she's not doing some of the cemetery work. So you had a volunteer in Mr. Bill Bledsoe that was 24/7 at that cemetery. If y'all can come up with another volunteer that'll do that, where we don't have to have some administrative work done here at the city, more power to you. What's going to happen if you continue to go down the road that Ms. Rice is asking you to go down is you are going to have an eyesore in the middle.
I quit.
No, I'm not saying that, Ms. Rice, and I think your attitude towards me, towards our mayor, stinks.
Okay.
Okay? I think
Can we
you need to
let's
get.
stay on topic, ma'am,
Okay.
if
Well,
we can, okay?
Okay,
Okay.
excuse me, I'm sorry for that, but it's
Right.
just, this has been a very emotional meeting, and it's very hard when we have people that are supposed to be our leaders that all
Well,
the time.
I
Okay,
think Councilwoman Rice is just trying to be,
just $5,000 in a CD, a short-term CD, so that we have access to it. We have $23,524 in our checking account, and yes, that does come from the sale of plots. It comes from donations that we solicit, and it also comes from the fundraising that we've done. Never before in the history of our city has the cemetery done fundraisers. We've done 2 of them. We have a 3rd one scheduled for this November. And we do that so that we can improve the property and make it somewhere that all of us can be proud of. The founding fathers of our community are buried in that cemetery, and we owe it to them to do a little more than just pulling weeds.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Thank you.
And we do all understand.
Just,
And- okay.
if I could, just a couple points of information. As it relates to the relationship between the City of Milton and the Cemetery Board, and Council's perspective on the nature of that relationship, if you'd like to readdress that, I'll invite the conversation. I inherited that relationship, and we've carried it forward from the point that I have. As it relates to the property is the property of the Milton Cemetery Board. It was, the City of Milton was asked to assume the role of ownership for the purpose of disposal, and the city has done that. The proceeds were to inure to the benefit to the Milton Cemetery Board. To ask that the cemetery board use those proceeds for capital improvements is not an inappropriate request. So that's where we're at. We have at least one item on the Shavers Street parcel that is before the council for its consideration. It's the first item on tonight's agenda.
Right.
And if, before we address it, if we could take a short break, I'd appreciate it. We'll
Okay.
come back and
fine.
address it if that's good.
That's fine. No problem. We'll take about 5 minutes.
Not yet. I don't think that, I don't know if it'll be this year or next year. Gotta go through. You can actually go on the state website and you can tag and it'll tell you back that money. Yeah. I like tag as well. And at our office, we don't even have all of them. I think there's like 100. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's convenient. Yeah. Yeah. welcome. Which one? No, not yet. I'll have to go look. Is it,
All right.
if it was up to me, I'd have everything monogrammed. I'll have to go look at it. There's another one, Jenny Marie's, Ginny Marie's, and she's got a lot of cute stuff. Yeah. Yeah. See, I have a monogram machine at home, so a lot of my vinyl machine or stuff I'll do myself.
Well, Randy's not here anyway.
Hey, it's coming.
It's coming, it's right on our back. Randy, I'm gonna let him know that to see, you know, I can like back stuff.
Oh, if I did, I didn't mean to. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry.
No.
I love mine.
No.
Chris. You.
Alfred.
I would go break.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wasn't looking at the radar.
Oh. Yes, right. Yeah. Secretary, like. Milton. Yeah. Tell him. Don't want to be. Al.
What time?
About. That's at 1 o'clock.
Oh, that's 1 o'clock? Oh,
But see how all the cells are broken up? These are all supercells because it's on a line. They're not all connected by theirs.
okay.
Is there no water in that kitchen? No. No, she said no dairy when you take antibiotics. No, no dairy. Your ear's clogged up. We'll give you that. Yeah, those gusts are gonna be like 70 to 75 mile per hour winds.
Gotta be 5.
It will be my intent to get the action items to this point.
Well, I'm gonna rack through this real fast.
Let it rain.
Crack it, Adam.
I own that.
I just,
Move my trash cans inside.
That's just things under that item.
Come on, Adam.
You seal everything up at the house?
Here we go.
Thank you for your patience tonight, and we have a severe storm approaching. So for the remainder of the meeting, we will just take care of the action item. Item 1273. Sale of
Item
Shaver-
1273 is the sale of Shaver Street parcel. The chair of the committee that generally gives this report is not present, so I'll attempt to. The recommendation to council is to accept one of the two offers. Our recommendation is the Edward Hamilton Properties subsidiary offer that requests the property be divided into two parcels. Seller's going to furnish a survey, and the offer is for $12,500.
Move approval.
Second.
And I have a question.
Okay.
Have we checked to make sure that these are going to be buildable lots once you divide them into two, and that they'll meet setbacks? Structure on the property will
They
still be able to
won't,
meet?
and that's been shared with the buyer.
They will not be buildable lots?
They will not, and that's been shared with the buyer.
And the buyer's plan for the lots?
I don't know what their intent is. Once they acquire it, they must meet our standards.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept the Edward Hamilton Properties.
I think we got to get that in the contract, that it's clearly written in the contract. I mean, somewhere that they will not be buildable lots.
The two lots that they're
He wants them in
actually,
two lots.
the two lots that they're actually establishing aren't two lots on the subject property that they'll obtain. It's the two lots that will carve off Shaver Street and Oak Crest Road.
And I know that will be made clear.
Well,
Councilman Rice.
well, just to
as
speak
we
to,
go ahead.
if I could speak to that really quick, irregardless of a contract, the code is the code. They can't break the code no matter what, how they plat it out or parcel it out.
Right. Are there any other comments? We have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Rice and second by Snow to go
Smith.
ahead.
Smith.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Smith.
okay.
Smith to accept the Edward Hamilton Properties bid in the amount of $12,500. There's no more discussion. Let us vote. Motion passes. Okay, we will move quickly to the National Information Officers Training Conference for Pam Holt. And once again, Mr. Jorgensen, would you,
Pamela Holt has asked that she be allowed to attend the conference. It's August 25th through 28th. I believe it will benefit the community and improve the quality of her work. Having said that, the recommendation is to approve the travel request.
Motion to approve.
Second.
a motion to approve that Pam Holt attends the training conference by Mr. Powell, second by.
No. Snow and Smith.
Snow, excuse me, Snow.
Snow and Smith.
Snow and Smith.
Everybody thinks it's.
SS, by SS. Is there any other discussion? If not, let it be known by voting what your preference is. Motion passes. Thank you. Now we're at item 1281, Santa Rosa County Shared Contract.
Traffic signalization,
Yes.
maintenance and repair. Ingram signalization is under contract to Santa Rosa County based upon the bid that they submitted to provide this work to that unit of government. We would like to piggyback for the same amounts on that contract. That's the recommendation.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Second.
Motion by Snow. Is there a second?
Second. Smith.
second by Smith. Is there any other discussion? If not, let it be known by voting your preference. Motion passed. And for tonight, the last item, item 1282.
There
No, we
actually,
have 1281.
yep, there's actually two other items. One deals with the 4th of July, but this item deals with the CR8
Yes.
phase out bills in the legislature. You can see a correspondence that's included in your packet that's to be mailed above the mayor's signature to the appropriate parties. If council's had an opportunity to review that correspondence, we would ask that she be authorized to forward it on behalf of the council.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Hathaway, second by Smith. Any other discussion? If not, please vote. Motion passed. And what did you tell me about 4th of July?
That's another action item. We need authorization to move forward with Riverfest and the city's involvement to include the cost of the fireworks display. We've got $10,000 in our budget for that purpose. I'd like to increase that amount by $5,000. We'll essentially double the display that we provide to the public on the 4th of July, and we'll have a fireworks celebration much better than any we've had in the past. So for 50% more, it's my opinion, we'll get twice the bang, pardon the pun, on 4th of July for the buck.
And you won't need to move. You don't have any safety issues.
We don't.
You're just going to have more,
Actually,
more of them, not bigger or more
Yeah, if-
powerful.
Well, if there
For
may
the
be bigger,
record.
there may be bigger shells. As a matter of fact, there could be 8-inch shells used, and the 8-inch
Okay.
shells that will be used will be visible from Navarre.
All righty then.
The other part of this that's positive is if you remember Light Up Milton and the barge display that
Awesome.
many considered to be as good as our 4th of July, that was at a cost of $5,000.
Okay.
We're trying to leverage outside resources for an additional $5,000 and do everything I just described.
So what you're saying is everybody down Russell Harbor should be able to see it?
Not only Russell Harbor, but I think everybody in the area will say that the Milton display was second to none.
Great idea.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Once again, there's a motion on the floor. With the amount of money that Randy talked about, was that 10,000 plus 5?
It's 15,000.
15, right.
15.
Just want to be clear.
Okay.
Dollars for that activity. We had a motion on the floor by Hathaway and second by Smith.
No.
Correct?
Snow.
Snow this time.
No. All
Sorry.
right. Any other discussion? If not, please let us know of your agreement or disagreement by voting. Motion passed.
Madam Mayor, that concludes the action items. It'll be council's discretion as to what other items you take up.
Right. Okay. Basically, if you will, the others are just sort of general discussion. We touched base on a little bit anyway with the parliamentary procedures, and we've already talked about Wi-Fi and the information items that you have in your packet you can read. Councilman Rice, did you get all of your information?
Well, we can take it up in executive as long as it'll move forward. Is there anything we need to do to move this forward to executive?
That's what I was
Council-
going to ask you.
Councilwoman Rice, if I might, could I ask if it would be your intent that internal controls go committee of the whole or executive committee?
Executive, and then we can push it to committee of the whole would be
Okay.
fine, but
Okay.
I want to have a discussion. I don't want to wait a month for a discussion.
We'll carry all of these items forward to executive, and
That'd
you
be
can
fine.
determine their appropriate placement at
All
that
right,
time.
thank you very much.
Very, thank you.
And I do believe that Mr. Jorgensen said he had one item to distribute.
I do have one item
Night reading.
that I'd like to give to you. It's food for thought, folks. Please take it as just that. If there's something there that you'd like to talk about further, I invite that conversation. I think I am doing just what I just stated. I am inviting a conversation. There have been 2 items that have divided this community from my perspective for a considerable length of time. One is Highway 90, the other is conversations surrounding the relationship the city has and has not had with Main Street Milton. I want to resolve those matters so that we can move forward and concentrate our work on other areas of interest. This is something that I'd like you to think about and be prepared to potentially comment on at the executive committee. And if at that time you'd like to move that back to the committee of the whole, we would invite that conversation. Thank you.
Do you want our responses email, verbal
Well,
at the
you
meeting,
know,
or?
that's up to you. How you get that information to me is at your discretion. You all know where I'm at and how to get a hold of me.
You want a 4-hour meeting and all of us to speak live? Don't you
no,
want to make
well,
your
why
opinion
don't-
noticed?
why
I'm
don't-
giving you a softball,
Well,
sir.
I invite a conversation with all of you
Okay.
prior
Uh-huh.
to the meeting.
Okay.
There you go.
It sounds really good, fair.
Uh-huh.
I believe those are the only other items that come forth, and go home, do your homework. Good job of reading through this and examining, re-examining, so what, we can put some of these issues.
Beat the weather, folks. Get out of here.
Right,
Thank you.
motion to adjourn. Oh, we
Motion.
don't need one.
We'll take it anyway.
Good night.
You're in charge.
There you go.
Didn't need a motion.
Once we get to the
Thank you, Ronald.
move fairly fast.
Missing one item.